Indian Prime Minister Modi is heading to China for the first time in 7 years as these two ancient civilizational countries aim to reboot ties amid Donald Trump's tariff tantrums. This visit to China for the SCO summit will also be the Modi's first since the Galwan Valley clashes, which plunged ties to a historic low. But a lot has changed since then, with China now backing India to stand firm against US threats. Is Trump going to unite rivals India and China in an economic standoff with America? Chinese embassy spokesperson posted, quote, India's sovereignty is non-negotiable and its foreign policy choices cannot be manipulated by other countries no matter how significant their own ties with India are, unquote. Now that's an excellent statement, but let's hope China also realizes that it cannot trust Pakistan as well, but that's a discussion for another time. Prime Minister Modi says India will never compromise key sectors including agriculture and dairy, nor will India import genetically modified US food or meat-based dairy feed, which is against Indian and Hindu values.
व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं.
Prime Minister Modi elaborated India's firm stand, stating, quote, For us, the interest of our farmers is our top priority. India will never compromise on the interests of farmers, fishermen, and dairy farmers. I know personally I will have to pay a heavy price for it, but I am ready for it, unquote. Donald Trump angered India by imposing additional 25% tariff, taking it to 50%. Firstly, let me just state that the US is free to impose tariffs just like any other country. But by doing so, Donald Trump is revealing who is America's friend and who is not. Still, key sectors including Indian electricals and pharma are shielded. It could still impact nearly 40 to 50% of Indian exports to the United States, which is about 0.8% of India's GDP. So the impact will be felt, but it won't be massive. But this is also a great opportunity for India to find newer markets and be more competitive. Donald Trump has justified the additional 25% tariffs on India, saying they are for allegedly buying Russian oil. Firstly, all oil purchases by India are legal under international law. It's not as if India is using any shadow fleets to import Russian oil. Everything is as per international law. Also, since the United States and European Union themselves trade with Russia, surely Donald Trump's claims on tariffs linked to India's oil imports are nothing more than a facade. This is just an attempt to set an anti-Indian narrative in the media. The real reason for targeting Indian economy still remains a mystery. Is it just pressure tactics to make Modi and India open up its markets? Or is there a more serious agenda behind the scenes? Now that remains to be seen. Is it linked to Donald Trump's Bitcoin interests in Pakistan? But surely he also values India. Donald Trump has multiple Trump towers in India. Some reports claim Trump's real estate investments in India are second only behind those in America. So why is he targeting a country he calls a friend? The Indian government fired back at the US, saying it will move to protect national interest. The Ministry of External Affairs posted its official statement on platform X, dubbing the additional measures and targeting of New Delhi as unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. It stated, quote, We have already made clear our position on these issues, including the fact that our imports are based on market factors and done with an overall objective of ensuring the energy security of 1.4 billion people of India, unquote. The statement added that it's extremely unfortunate that the US chose to impose additional tariffs on India for actions that several other countries are also taking in their own national interest. Remember, the US president's move comes amid pressure on Russia and President Putin to sign a ceasefire deal for the ongoing war in Ukraine. So what's at stake this time? The move is likely to severely impact certain domestic export sectors such as leather, chemicals, footwear, gems and jewelry, textiles and shrimp. It is set to make Indian goods incredibly expensive in the United States, with potential to cut US-bound exports by 40 to 50%. Also, Indian exporters are at a 30 to 35% comparative disadvantage now compared to peers from countries with lesser reciprocal tariffs from Trump. Amid all the trade embargo, in a significant setback for Washington, a new strategic troika aligning Russia, China, and India is on the verge of becoming a reality, showcasing a pragmatic convergence of interests. While India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval made a high-profile visit to Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China gains even more significance. Modi will attend the SCO summit in Tianjin City from August 31st to September 1st. Sources revealed to Indian Express that if the visit materializes, Modi is also expected to hold bilateral talks and meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. So does the move signal the normalization of ties between the two nations? Is it in India and China's mutual interest to bury all differences? The visit is also significant as it comes months after India's Operation Sindoor military operation, which destroyed 9 terror camps in 9 different Pakistani cities, and then Indian forces also hit and neutralized at least 10 Pakistani air bases. India's participation in the SCO would be in the backdrop of Chinese defense supplies to Pakistan as well. Modi and Xi are sure to discuss state-sponsored terror, regional security, and trade at that summit. No doubt, efforts will be made to restore stability and dialogue in India-China relations. India's recalibration of ties with China is expected to act a balancing factor and as a signal to the United States. But the efforts have already been ongoing, with moves such as the restoration of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, visas for Chinese tourists, and possible revival of direct flights have all laid the groundwork for normalization of ties. The last meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi was at Kazan in Russia in 2024, and that was fruitful as it set the stage for the disengagement of frontline troops at the 2 final friction points along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh, and the resumption of normal patrolling. Meanwhile, NSA Ajit Doval's visit to Russia is also aimed at further bolstering India-Russia defense ties. A report by Economic Times stated that the two sides are looking at the possibility of additional purchases of the S-400 air defense system. And talks could also include setting up an S-400 MRO facility right here in India. Interestingly, the visit is coming at a time when US President Donald Trump's special envoy, Stephen Witkoff, was also in Moscow. A Russian source informed ET, quote, "The current escalation of the geopolitical situation will also be discussed. Apart from that, the topics will include such pressing matters as supplies of Russian oil," unquote. Earlier, Putin's presidential aide Dmitry Peskov opposed Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on India and stated, "Russia believes sovereign countries must have and do have the right to choose their own trade partners on their own and independently determine those modes of trade and economic cooperation that suit the interests of a country in question," unquote. Ajit Doval's visit is reportedly intended to prepare details for Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to the Indian capital New Delhi later this year. Have your say. Is it time for India and China to normalize bilateral relations and find a permanent solution to the border conflict? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button, and subscribe to Inconnect News.